The Chicago Bulls fall to the Los Angeles Clippers 119-108. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's loss. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about the key takeaways from tonight's loss against the Los Angeles Clippers. And so I always like to start with the points that describe this game, and I just really have two. And so the first one being that the Bulls did fight hard in this game. I thought that they did a good job as far as staying competitive in this game. And really, they did take the lead in the third quarter. They just weren't able to really get off to a big enough run against the Los Angeles Clippers and kind of make them grind it out through this game. But I did like the way that the Chicago Bulls competed in this one. They just didn't have enough. The next thing for the Chicago Bulls is much like what we've been talking about in prior games. There were several player performances that really stood out and just really will, I think, answer some of these questions that we have with this team as they proceed on with this season and ultimately head into the offseason. And so speaking of those player performances, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we're going to take a look at the starters and the bench and talk about what each player did out there. And so starting with the starting lineup and Josh Giddey. And so with Josh Giddey, 20 points in this game, a -1 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 2 turnovers as well. He had 1 block shot. He had 2 steals. He had 10 assists, 11 rebounds in this game. He was 4 of 11 from deep and 8 of 20 from the field in 39 minutes. And so with Josh Giddey, look, I thought that, he was knocking down his three-point shots. And so we know that he just came off the 6 3-point makes there just a game ago against the Los Angeles Lakers. And so he was certainly looking for that. I do think that it was a bit tougher for him today as far as getting downhill. I think that the Los Angeles Clippers kind of bothered him with the length that they were kind of using there defensively. And so it was a little bit tougher for him. But, man, he just looked like he was just trying to find a way to just get to the basket, get downhill as much as possible. Couldn't draw the fouls, and so he didn't get to the free throw line. And so you clearly saw that frustration throughout the game. But Josh Giddey, another triple-double. Next up, Tre Jones. And so Tre Jones continues to be an impact for the Chicago Bulls. And the one thing that really sticks out with his performance is you see that he did knock down a three-point shot. And I thought that Tre Jones was really spectacular with the way that he was just kind of driving into the lane and just kind of moving himself to where he would shield off defenders, or it was just slight hesitations and things like that to where he would be able to turn the corner to get to the layups and things like that. And so Tre Jones, a lot quicker than what he looks like. He's just a lot craftier than I think a lot of people give him. But Tre Jones, I think, had a terrific game. And so even though it was a -23 in this one, 21 points, he did have 2 turnovers in this one, 2 assists. He did have the 1 rebound. He was 1 of 1 from the free throw line and 10 of 11 from the field in 30 minutes. Next up, Nick Richards. And so Nick Richards, you see, he did get the start in this game. And so 10 points and the 8 rebounds. And so I like the fact that he almost got to the double-double. Did take a couple 3-point shots in this one. And so, Nick Richards continues to be comfortable taking these 3-point shots. And I think that with Nick Richards, he continues to battle and everything else like that. I think that at times he did struggle a little bit with Brook Lopez out there defensively, but I did still like what I'm seeing from Nick Richards, and I still think that this is a player that the Bulls should be bringing back, especially if you're looking to have him back up, your centers and things like that. And so 10 points, a -1 in this one. He did have a turnover. He did have the 3 block shots as well, and so that rim protection there for you. The 8 rebounds, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 1 of 3 from deep, and 3 of 10 from the field in 30 minutes. Next up, Leonard Miller. And so talking about these players that have stood out, Miller has absolutely stood out for the Chicago Bulls. And, I'm just going to say this. I think that with Leonard Miller, in the limited time that we have had Leonard Miller here with the Chicago Bulls, I think that he has probably shown me more than what probably Patrick Williams has shown me this season. I seriously think that Leonard Miller has shown me that he can certainly be a rotational piece. And I think that that is important because I think when you look at the players, that the Bulls have moved on from, Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, I think that these were players that the Bulls were hoping could really turn into some rotational pieces. And Leonard Miller getting the opportunity, and I think that he is starting to show that, look, he could possibly be a rotational piece for the Bulls. Now, I know we still have some season left. I know we got to see what would happen next season, but I'm starting to like Leonard Miller more and more out there. And what I liked about his performance tonight is that you see the 14 points, but it wasn't all about the scoring, because at one point, all he was doing was getting rebounds. And that's what you love about Leonard Miller. And a lot of those were defensive rebounds. And so you see that the fact that he was able to just make himself an impact without scoring first, I love that. And then the other stuff, as far as scoring, look, he was able to score, and the Bulls did not run a play for him. He had a nice little run out. Josh Giddey found him there. I thought he was terrific as far as his cuts and things like that. He got to the free throw line and everything else. And defensively, the way he competed out there, I love that. I know Kawhi Leonard got the best of him in a couple of possessions, and Billy Donovan was talking to him about that. But still, I like what I'm seeing from Leonard Miller on both sides of the floor. And so 14 points, a negative 13 in the plus minus box score. He did have 2 steals. He had 3 assists. He had 8 rebounds as well. 0 of 5 from deep, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, and 6 of 14 from the field in 36 minutes. Next up, Modest Buzelis. So Modest Buzelis, you see he got to the 18 points and the 11 rebounds. Didn't have any blocks in this one. The 2 turnovers, he was a negative 10 here, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, and 2 of 10 from deep, and 6 of 18 from the field in 34 minutes. And so for Modest Buzelis tonight, I thought that he kind of settled a lot for the 3-point shot. Much like Josh Giddey, I think that both of these guys kind of settled a little bit more for the 3-point shot tonight. I would have liked to see Modest Buzelis kind of drive in there a little bit more and try to cut up the defenses that way. But I think that was the thing with Modest Buzelis. But he did have some moments in this game. He did have some turnovers too. Those 2 turnovers I thought were kind of silly too as well. But still, I think a solid game for Modest Buzelis. He continues to take that step forward as a scorer. And I think defensively, he is getting better. We've talked about the fact that he's on the hunt for the 100 block shots, which I think he's going to get there. But individual defense, he has taken a step forward. You want to see him take some more steps in this one. And so next up, off the bench here, we had Gershon Yabuslee. And so, look, Yabuslee, he had the touch from deep today. You could tell that he was certainly feeling a lot more energized out there in 20 minutes. I like the fact that, he has a very nice shooting stroke, man, once he has it going. And so 3 of 3 tonight, 11 points, a negative 9 in the plus minus box score, 2 rebounds, 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 3 from deep, and 20 minutes. And so I do like the fact that also, too, you can catch Gershon Yabuslee, always talking to Billy Donovan and just talking about some of these defensive and offensive coverages out there. And so I like the fact that he's been locked in like that since he's been here with the Bulls. Next up, Patrick Williams. So, look, Patrick Williams really struggled tonight. I thought that Patrick Williams just did not have a good night. There were several 3-point shots that I think he should not have taken. They were very contested. Then when he did put the ball on the floor, he just wasn't as aggressive as I think he could have been. And he also kind of dribbled into some spots where it allowed the defense to kind of lock him up some more there. And so 2 points in this one, a +3 in the plus minus box score. He did have 3 blocks in this one. He also had 2 turnovers, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, and 0 of 6 from deep, and 0 of 7 from the field in 23 minutes. Next up here, taking a look at some more players that did get into the game. And so Rob Dillingham. And so again, talking about players that did stand out, it was Rob Dillingham. And so in that third quarter, Rob Dillingham knocked down a couple big shots that really led to some timeouts for the Clippers. In fact, I think both of his 3-point shots led to some timeouts for the Clippers. That would be the quarter in which the Bulls were able to take a small lead there. But I like the fact that Rob Dillingham did not hesitate in this game. And I think he continues to show that with that speed and handle, he can get to places on the floor, but at times he kind of rushes it. And so there were some turnovers that certainly you just look at that and you go, man, what was that? And so Rob Dillingham's got to slow down a little bit more, understand that, look, you do have that handle, that speed. Once you get into places, if it's not there, just simply get it back out to the safe pass. You don't necessarily have to go for the risky stuff if it's not there. But there were moments for Rob Dillingham, and I think that this is one in which he can build off of. I do think defensively it was a struggle for him. Like, you could tell that when players were getting switched on him, they were going at him. And really with Benedict Mathurin, he was kind of going at everybody. But I do remember there was a player so that he did get Rob Dillingham on his back, and he was able to draw the foul and things like that. So he's got to do a little bit better job as far as kind of battling there. But still, a solid one. So 12 points. A +2. He did have the 3 turnovers there. He had the 4 assists in this one, 4 rebounds, 2 of 3 from the field, and 2 of 3 from downtown, and 5 of 9 from the field in 24 minutes. So I like seeing that. Next up with Yuki. And so Yuki just out there for 4 minutes, a -3 out there. So Yuki didn't do much today, but we always love to see Yuki get out there. And so now I wanted to go ahead and jump into just the team box score quickly here as we take a look at this as the Bulls here and the Clippers get finished with this game. And so the Bulls coming into this one did not shoot the 3 ball very well. So 29% from the field from downtown, actually. And then you see that the Clippers there were 28% from 3. Then when it came down to the free throw line, 12 of 13 for the Bulls, and then 18 of 24 for the Los Angeles Clippers. So the Clippers doing a great job as far as knocking down their free throw attempts. Then next up, just taking a look here at the rebounds. And so 48-46, the Bulls lead in that category. The assists, 23-28. That was led by the Clippers. 8-5 with the steals. 12-7, Clippers lead in the block shots, and then the total turnovers for the Bulls, 15-6. And so those turnovers were costly for the Bulls today. 17 points given up off of that. You see that the Clippers only 4 off of their turnovers. 12-13 with the fast break points, so pretty even with that. 70-56 with the points in the paint for the Los Angeles Clippers. I thought that if you looked at this game, I really felt like that there were so many straight line drives that the Clippers were able to get. And this is why the Bulls weren't able to get any separation and put any pressure on the Clippers, because it was just way too easy for them defensively. When the Bulls would go to their zone defense, they were missing assignments there and just missing people as they were kind of roaming the lanes and things like that. So, I think that the Clippers really took advantage of that and scored in the paint that way. Largest lead here for the Los Angeles Clippers in this game was 14. The largest lead for the Bulls was 1. I talked about that in the third quarter for the Bulls here. So, look, a tough one, as far as the loss for the Bulls. I think we're going to be talking about that pretty often down the stretch. But I do think that this was big as far as player development. Again, I think that we saw really good stuff from Leonard Miller. I think that there's no excuse in which Leonard Miller is not getting minutes. And I think that the better off he plays, I think that it just shows you that he should be more of a rotational piece. Now, I know that the Bulls are still going to have to, fix their roster and stuff like that, but Leonard Miller has certainly come over from the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's been hungry and he's taking advantage of this thing. And it's not just about scoring if you look at these games, because there's times where he's not scoring the basketball, but he's doing little things. He's getting boards and things like that. And then as far as Rob Dillingham, can he continue to build with this? And so the talk around Rob Dillingham is that he does have a wrist injury. And so they'll see what happens in the offseason. But I am liking the fact that he's competing out there. He's trying his best. And you can tell it's a player that's still just trying to find his way in the NBA, confidence-wise, skill-wise, and everything else, because he just hasn't played with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And so let's see what we see, moving forward there. I still am liking what I'm seeing from Nick Richards, and I do feel like that Josh Giddey and Modest Buzelis are hitting another gear right now as the season closes down. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking, what your key takeaways were from tonight's loss against the Los Angeles Clippers. The Bulls will be playing Monday. We'll be talking some more about the Bulls here over the next couple days here. And so anyway, as we always say, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.